So I just listened to a discussion about, decentralizing the police force, taking it out of the hands of the government, um, and putting it into the hands of a community police force. So that's better. Um, and then they conclude with one of the best things about this community policing is that property values in the neighborhood have gone up. And you just want to bang your head against the wall, right? These ANCAPs that just don't get it, right? um, so maybe I should take the time to explain what the actual anarchist position on policing is. Okay. You'll hear all this ANCAP nonsense, and you probably will hear many of them talk about property values, um, because for them it's more about bureaucracy, right? To them, cops are just annoying red tape bureaucracy, and if you cut it, then um, you know, more free enterprise or some nonsense, right? Um, the proper actually, and something else that the guy said was he said they were going through a case study or an example. It wasn't a case study; it was just an example of where the cops went on strike. And he says it also demonstrates that if there weren't cops around, then people wouldn't go around robbing and stealing things. Yeah, I'm an anarchist. I propose or I support an ordered system of collectively owned property. Um, I believe in the total abolition of the police, not the replacement of it with community policing, because what a community police does is the same thing as what a government police does, is they protect property. If you move it from government to, you're not solving anything. All you're doing is taking a level of accountability out, right? So you might have a government might have a constitution that says you can't discriminate against black people. A community organization would not have that clause, and then you could have racist vigilante groups, right? Um, so that's a step in the wrong direction, right? I support the total abolition of the police, and I can tell you with great certainty that if there were no police, I would be out there, maybe not murdering people, that's not my thing, but I'd be out there stealing things for sure. So let's take a step back. I tell you, if there were no police, I'd be out there stealing things. What is stealing? What is stealing? When you steal something from somebody, what you're doing is you're not respecting their rights over that property. Okay? As an anarchist, what I would do is I would flip that question around. I would not say that I do not have the right to somebody else's property and going after it is stealing. Now, we have to separate between different kinds of property, right? That doesn't mean I can walk into your house and steal your toothbrush, right? Or I should avoid using the word steal because I'm changing the meaning of the word steal. So, and I have every right to do that. Um, it's entirely relative, and that's the whole point. Is that it's entirely relative. Because it depends on your concept of property. And if we're changing the concept of property, then we're, by definition, changing the concept of steal. Right? But that doesn't mean that I can walk into your house and take your toothbrush, or I can walk into your driveway and take your car. Okay? Um, what it does mean, I would argue, is that I could walk into a store and take something out of it. Okay? And the reason being that I'm flipping the question around. I'm saying, what gives you the right to tell me that I can't eat this? Okay, what gives you the right to tell me that I cannot take this good? Right? The answer is a legal system, is the state. Okay, and as an anarchist, a real anarchist, I understand that that's what the state is. The state is a system to uphold property rights. Okay, that ensures that we have this operating system, right? And so you get these ANCAPs and they say we don't need the state to uphold it. People would do it anyways. I can tell you that I certainly wouldn't. And I think that uh, the premise that people would continue to live in the system that the state created, um, without the state there to enforce it, um, relies on some pretty hefty assumptions about the distribution of property and about the culture in the region, right? So and this actually kind of goes, it ties back into the whole, you know, the, this whole, development of history concept of economics, right? So if you acknowledge that capitalism, liberalism, is the ideal way to maximize freedom in an agrarian society, then we can say, okay, well, if you took, this like farming community out in, Nebraska or something, that's isolated from everything else, then okay, maybe that might work there. But in downtown Los Angeles, where 85% of the people, rent, live paycheck to paycheck or worse, are you going to tell me that system is going to uphold itself? It can't, because it's created this amount of poverty, right? And what the laws exist is to keep that poverty in place, um, or at the very least to act as a buffer between those that have property and those that don't. Okay, so when I say I want to abolish policing, what that means is that I want to abolish property. If we abolish property, then we no longer need police, because we no longer need anybody to say that if you take this, then we're going to put you in a cage, right? Um, and it does. I mean, most crimes are property crimes or property-related crimes. Um, the idea is that it would take a good, you know, a very. I don't want to put a number on it because I'm just making it up, but it would take a very large amount of crime off the books. And if you acknowledge that abolishing property also abolishes poverty, um, by ensuring that everybody has access to goods, then it gets rid of a lot of these other kinds of um, concerns as well. Okay, what's left is reduced largely to mental illness, and you deal with mental illness as a health problem, not as a policing issue, right? So you are going to have schizophrenic people, and they're going to do whacked things. You're going to have people that are born with fetal alcohol syndrome, and you're going to have to be careful with them. How you deal with that is, I mean, it's complicated. I would support kind of um, a system of just incarceration. Um, the reality is that there are going to be people that are born with conditions that make them unsafe to live in society. Um, you know, but that's a very different situation than criminality. Okay, so again, the proper anarchist position is that crime is a consequence of property rights. The way to abolish crime is to abolish property rights. And these ANCAPs who think that, the police are just another type of bureaucracy, are really missing the plot on that. We can have long conversations about this. Feel free to start a discussion in the comment thread if you'd like. But I think I've got the point across here.